Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Kunti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ekananavataranam Anam Bijam Avyayam Yasyam Shamshena Srijante Naradaya Ekananavatarana Anam Bijam Avyayam Yasyam Shamshena Srijante Naradaya This form. Nana. Multifarious. Avatarana. Of the incarnations. Nidhanam. Source. Bijam. Seed. Avyayam. Indestructible. Yasya. Whose? Angsha. Plenary portion. Angshena. Part of the plenary portion. Srijante. Create. Deva. Demigods. Tiryak. Animals. Nara. Adayaha. Human beings and others. Translation. This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created. And the 3-page purport. The Purusha, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahat Tattva, entered into each of them as the second Purusha, Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, when he saw that within the universe there was only darkness and space, without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then, from his navel, the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals, the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was created from Rajoguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is always aloof from materialistic affection. This has already been explained. From Brahma, there is Rudra, Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many others become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. This Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of the Garbha Stuti, which begin with the description of the Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. The Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, is the super soul of the universal life. And he is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So, the three features of the original Purusha are thus understood. And all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, which sounds like a contradiction, right? Is it Garbhodakashayi Vishnu or Kshirodakashayi Vishnu? We'll come back and visit it again. Page 2, the 3 pages of purport. In different millennia, there are different incarnations, and they are innumerable, although some of them are very prominent, such as Matsyakurma, Varaha, Rama, Nrsinga, Vamana, and many others. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations. Then there are qualitative incarnations, such as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or Rudra, who take charge of the different modes of material nature. Paragraph. Lord Vishnu is not different from the personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is in the marginal position between the personality of Godhead and living entities or jivas. Brahma is, there's another contradiction in the same paragraph. Brahma is always a jiva tattva. And he says different at the end of the paragraph. The highest, pious living being, or the greatest devotee of the Lord, is empowered with the potency of the Lord for creation, and he is called Brahma. His power is like the power of the sun, reflected in valuable stones and jewels. Make reference to that also. It's a Brahma Samhita gloss. When there is no such living being to take charge of the post of Brahma, the Lord himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Paragraph. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being. He is the plenary portion of the Lord, but because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with the material nature, he is not exactly in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between milk and curd. Curd is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in the place of milk, paragraph. So those 2 out of 6. He keeps going. The next incarnations are the Manus. Within 1 day's duration of the life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar years as 320,000 times 1,000 years. That's 1 day. There are 14 Manus. Therefore, there are 420 Manus in 1 month of Brahma and 5,040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of his age, and therefore there are 5,040 times 100, or 504,000 Manus in the duration of Brahma's life. There are innumerable universes, and 1 Brahma in each of them, and all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha. Therefore, one can simply imagine how many millions of Manus there are during 1 breath of the Purusha. And final page. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are as follows, and he lists them. Yajna is Swayambhuva Manu. Vibhu is as Swarochisha Manu. Satyasena as Uttama Manu. Hari as Tamasa Manu. Vaikunta as Raivata Manu. Ajita as Chakshusha Manu. Vamana as Vivasvata Manu, parentheses, the present age is under Vivasvata Manu. Sarvabhauma as Savarni Manu. Rishabha as Daksha Savarni Manu. Vishvaksena as Brahma Sarvani Manu. Dharma Setu as Dharma Sarvani Savarni Manu. Sudama as Rudra Savarni Manu. Just a few more. Yogeshwara as Deva Savarni Manu. And Brihadvanu as Indra Savarni Manu. These are the names of 1 set of 14 Manus covering 4,300,000,000 solar years, as described above. So that's 3 of 6. Then there are the Yuga avatars, or the incarnations of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnations of each Yuga are of different color. The colors are white, red, black, and yellow. In the Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna is black, in black color appeared. And in the Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. Just 2 more paragraphs. So, all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation, for an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastras. An incarnation does not declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The features of the incarnation and the particular type of mission which he has to execute are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Final paragraph. Apart from the direct incarnations, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations. But when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Shesha, Ananta, etc. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is, take your pick, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So let's go over that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. The end of this long first paragraph says, and all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. What? Contradiction. So let's see if we can resolve the contradiction. Yesterday, we had this one of several lively discussions on the topic of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Sahasra Shirsha incarnation, and Prishnagarbha. So I'm going to read two things. This is Canto 4, Chapter 9, Text 1. You can go, it's right in the BVT publication, where the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, has appeared before Dhruva. And it comes at the end of chapter 8, this is the beginning of chapter 9, the end of chapter 8, the demigods went to Vishnu saying, we can't breathe, we never had this happen before, what's going on, help. And he said, don't worry, it's just a little boy, the son of King Uttanapada, and he's doing severe austerities with his mind fixed upon me. Commentary says, don't worry, nothing can happen. Then he says, I'll personally go and take care of the situation. I'll stop his austerities. You can go back to your planets and everything will be nice. So reassured, text 1, chapter 9. When the demigods were thus reassured by the personality of God that they were freed from all fears, and after offering their obeisances they returned to their heavenly planets, then the Lord, who is non-different from the Sahasra Shirsha incarnation, got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to the Madhuvan forest to see his servant, Dhruva. Purport. Listen carefully, this is technical. The word Sahasra Shirsha refers to the personality Godhead known as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Although the Lord appeared as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he has been described here as Sahasra Shirsha Vishnu because he is not different from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So that names can be used interchangeably because there's a non-difference feature although there's a difference feature. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Bhagavatamrita, the Sahasra Shirsha personality Godhead who appeared at that time was the incarnation known as Prishnagarbha. He created the planet known as Dhruvaloka for the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. Now, in Sanatana Goswami's commentary, he explains this word created means he provided, not like it wasn't existing and then it became into existence. That kind of created. He provided, just gives that explanation. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary says, it is understood from Laghu Bhagavatamrita that the avatar who appeared in front of Dhruva was Prishnigarbha. He is called Sahasrashirsha, which refers to Garbhadaksha Vishnu because they are non-different. Kama, both being Vishnu. Now there's a difference and there's a non-difference. And one can emphasize the difference and one can emphasize the non-difference. At least in this case, the speaker is Maitreya, the author or the compiler of the Bhagavatam is Vyas, and Shukadeva Goswami is explaining what Maitreya said to Vidura. So there's like 1, 2, 3 authorities, and it's in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's therefore authoritative in itself. The form that appeared before Dhruva was the Sanskrit is Sahasrashirsha, which consistently refers to Garbhadaksha Vishnu. Now we're going to hear the result of your research on why Sahasra is used when Vishnu only has 4 arms. Did you find something?
You want in 5 minutes or 1 hour?
2 minutes.
Thank you, Maharaj. I really appreciate your key point that we should contemplate.
Keep your seatbelt on.
One sloka in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu explained, to me I was very satisfied. He said, Jar Jai Ros Sei Sarvottama, Tatastha Ya Vicharile Ache Tadattama. Both exist. In Tattagata Vichar they are one. But there is a corresponding form that is eternally existing with the Lord, but when according to the sadhaka or practitioner's meditation, corresponding form manifests, and it for the pleasure for that sadhaka or devotee to serve or have the relationship on. So both are correct. I find this very fascinating that Prishnigarbha or Sahasra, Rupam or Garbhadaksha Vishnu, they are one in Tattva, what I understood. They are non-different.
What about what about the Sahasra? What about the 1,000? Your point yesterday was the language should comply with the form.
Yes.
No, let's hear that.
Lord Krishna, when he entered into the wrestling arena, he is the most attractive. That is says in that. Mallanam Ashinam Ninam, that verse says this. But Kamsa saw his death fall. So was he attractive or most attractive or he is most fearful? Both. According to he corresponds with the Kamsa's what he needed to see. But then all the ladies saw the most attractive Cupid.
So how's that Sahasra?
The Sahasra, Sahasra is that personality. But in communicating with Dhruva Maharaj is Prishnigarbha.
No,
but it is still Sahasra. Because the verse says, Krishna with his elder brother entering. So it did not say the most fearful form is entering.
Okay, let me interrupt.
Yes.
Thank you. In the very short commentary that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes on this verse, 135, that we recited this morning, he explains from the Sanskrit, Bijam means seed, but then he says, because the word Nidhanam, Bijam, Nidhanam, Prabhupada's word for word is source. He says it's the treasure house because he is a seed, but he is one of a treasure house of many, many seeds. This is Garbhadaksha Vishnu. So although he has 4 hands, the treasure house has unlimited hands. And then the next word is avyayam, which means Prabhupada's commonly translated as inexhaustible. Here is indestructible. So this Garbhodakshay Vishnu is the source of all avatars, and he, as one seed, is from the treasure house of unlimited seeds. Thus, Sahasra. I
also like the idea Prabhupada explained on the third canto that pastimes of Uddhava was discussing with Vidura, that when Rukmini Devi, Lord Krishna picked her up, he had two hands, but he saw he wanted to dust off the hair to make, he expanded other hand to comb. So all the hands are there within, but as correspondence require, he may manifest.
But that's not Sahasra.
Maybe we'll go together to see the Sahasrama.
Okay. So I'm going to go, one more thing, I'm going to go to another point that's in the purport. I did, Canto 4, Chapter 9, Text 16, there's a description, this is in Dhruva's prayers, after he sees the form of the Lord is touched in the forehead and he begins his prayers. He speaks, he addresses the Supreme Lord as Brahman. And it says, within Brahman, there's potencies of destruction and creation. So how are there potencies within the undifferentiated Brahman? So I did discuss this yesterday? Yes?
No,
yeah.
You
referred to it. Well, if Vishwanath says, seeing a city from a distance, coming closer, and then meeting the people in the city. So that is to say, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And when the word Brahman is used in this context, it means, as Jiva Goswami explains in his Sandarbhas, it infers Bhagavan. Because Brahman is the Pratishta of Brahman is Bhagavan. So whenever you read, this is Jiva Goswami, in the Vedas, Brahman, of course that's the Vedas, the Upanishads particularly, Brahman, then it infers Bhagavan, although it's not explicit. So that's the reading. Within Krishna is everything. So although Garbhodakshay Vishnu has 4 arms, within Krishna is everything. So within Garbhodakshay, the seed from which there are many, many, come from a place where there's many, many seeds, thus unlimited. That's the Purusha, or Garbha Stuti, as Prabhupada is speaking here in this purport. I wanted to touch on one other thing, or 2 other things. One of them is this reference of vibhuti. Of course, it comes later in this 3rd canto. Because it's the question, the topic that's being addressed is, please describe the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. Those are avatars, and the avatars are expanded from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and one of them is this feature of the vibhutis. And there's a simple explanation given here in this purport, where the indirect manifestations of the Supreme Lord within this universe, direct and indirect. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur identifies the demigods as counted, aside from what we read in chapter 10. There's the demigods, they're the category vibhutis. And specifically in the purport, without making the Brahma Samhita reference, there's this description of Brahma having some portion of the Lord's potency, and he likens it to a gem in which there is the light of the sun. So it's not a specific reference. This is Canto 1 Bhagavatam, composed in Radha Damodar temple for the Western world to understand the Bhagavatam and Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So the verse from Brahma Samhita, Basvan Yatantva Sakalesha Najesha Teja, is at the first line. And that's the reference. And Basvan means, Jiva Goswami explains, shining like the sun. Bhaktisiddhanta's translation, or word for word, is the illuminating sun, or shining like the sun. Brahma is compared to shining like the sun. There are Ashma Sakaleshu, precious stones. Ashma Sakaleshu, precious stones that are likened to the Suryakant in the translation of Jiva Goswami as well as Bhaktisiddhanta. Suryakanta gem. Have you ever heard of a Suryakanta gem before Bhaktisiddhanta wrote it or Jiva Goswami wrote it? There is such a gem, and that gem, it doesn't reflect light, but it stores light of the sun. It's a self-luminous stone. And a little research that I did this morning, same Suryakant gem is being referenced by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, saying that it's given that name, Suryakant, not only because it stores the light of the sun, but in presence of the sunlight it will explode. And he uses that example, along with some other ones, to say that the sound vibration of the Vedas is self-revealing. One doesn't require, one cannot access by the power of speculation or sense perception. Rather, the sound vibration itself reveals truths into the heart of one who is receiving that sound vibration. The proper sound vibration, the proper receiver, knowledge becomes revealed through bhakti, just as we know from the Bhagavatam. So the Suryakant gem is being compared to the position of Brahma, that this is a vibhuti. That is, as the Suryakant gem is a vibhuti of the sun, so Brahma is a vibhuti of the personality Godhead, Govinda. Whatever Brahma has is a vibhuti, it's a tiny something that comes from the personality Godhead, Govinda. And with that tiny something, he does a lot. So what to speak of the source from which that tiny something comes? But he's a tiny something, like the Suryakant gem is to the sun. It gives light. And you put it in a box, and it lights up the box. Or put it in a room, and it lights up the room. You don't have to light it, it's luminous. But where do you get the light? From the sun. It's just a tiny portion, a vibhuti of the light of the sun. So that's what vibhutis are. And so go back to the verse now. Those entities that are created by the demigods and the Prajapatis and so forth and so on, that's part of the expansion of the personality Godhead, Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Because that's the whole chapter. And I'll end with this, that in his own way of humility, Rupa Goswami named his Bhagavatamrita as Logo, so that he's diminutive in comparison to his brother, who's Brihat, Laghu Bhagavatamrita. And that Laghu Bhagavatamrita, as far as I can understand, I mean, there's an addendum or there's a final section, but the main thing it's doing is making a commentary of this third chapter of Canto 1. It's a description of the avatars of the Lord, which is what this third chapter is, or most of the third chapter. And it goes not just through, verse by verse by verse by verse by verse of these list of incarnations. Then he goes to another section, another section, another section. I haven't read it thoroughly, but that's my understanding of what he's doing, and it's a big, thick book. So this topic is an important topic. It has everything to do with the absolute truth being the source of everything. So the absolute truth that the source of the universe appears within the universe. And this nice explanation, Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters the universe, lies down in the universe. There's no place to lie down, so it creates a lying down arrangement. And that same Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who's lying in the lower half of the universe, expands himself as Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who is in this Swaitadvip position in the upper regions of this universe. So there's two Vishnus, not just one, with abodes in this universe, in each universe. Like, really fascinating. Who can understand these things? Who can understand these things? Through sound, that's how we can understand these things. And otherwise we can't understand these things. And so it's not just information. If that's all that we're looking for, go to a university and study information. This is meant for transformation of consciousness through sound, awakening our attraction for that which is the source of everything. And then one who has appreciation for that which is the source of everything, what do? Surrender to the personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita 10:8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam. What else are you going to do? You can be dishonest. That's another option. But if it's actually understood, there is a source of everything. Now, how are you going to understand that which is the source of everything? The beginning of the chapter, Krishna said, chapter 10, Krishna says, no one can understand. It's really simple. What existed before you existed? You can't know because it existed before you existed. So how do you know? When it's disclosed, then you can know. Well, from that which existed before you existed. Now Krishna's I'm going to disclose. I existed. And one who knows it, bhajante mam. Dhamma knows, 1, 2, and how are you going to know what exists? By disclosure. From a transcendental source. Aparusheya Shabda Praman. That's how you can know. And then you serve. And that's the essence of this principle of Sharanagati that comes from Ramayana. Now, we had a little discussion yesterday. I'm getting it. We had a little discussion yesterday in the 18 principles of surrender that Yamunacharya taught to Sri Shailapurna, were taught to Ramanujacharya, and Govindaraj wrote it all down and made extensive commentary following that blueprint, whatever you want to call it, outline, bullet points, model. And so I'm going to make available, I don't know exactly how, to somehow or another people that want that list of 18, I'll see that you can get a copy somehow. I don't know how it can be done. Mukhya can figure it out, I guess. And then I just came to know, some of you know Vidvan Garanga Prabhu in Mayapur, Janmashtami knows. And Vit Van Garonga has made a project, a vow or something, to translate Valmiki Ramayana into readable English and Govindaraja's commentary into readable English. He's completed Balakanda, and it's only 3 volumes. And his plan is by Ramnavami 2020, he'll have completed Ayodhya Kanda, Ayodhya Kanda, and then each year he's going to do another Kanda. Hopefully he'll live that long. And so devotees in the Hare Krishna movement that would like to know something more about Ramayana can learn from a superlatively wonderful commentator. I mean, he's out of this world, Govindaraj. My experience of reading, I haven't read the Balakanda and Ayodhya Kanda, but much of the commentary that the next 2 Kandas, not all of it, but much of the commentary, he's out of sight. It's really wonderful. What's that?
Amala Bhakta, he translated the whole Ramayana. It's so wonderful.
The whole Ramayana that he has done is a certain version from the Gita press of Valmiki Ramayana. Hello?
Yes.
At the very beginning of his narration, he says where he gets his source. Listen carefully to the very first part of his narration. It's from a certain version, I think it's Gita Press, and he kind of like simplified it or, made it into language that you can understand. Because the Gita Press version is not so intelligible. But that's his source. And Purna Pragya did something similar. Now this is the entire Ramayana from the original Sanskrit with Govindaraja's commentary for each of the verses, or much of the verses. I don't know. It's different. Okay? Are you happy or unhappy? Okay. We want people to be happy as much as possible. I saw your hand first, then your hand. Go ahead. Microphone. It's 10 minutes to 9, and we have to keep track of time. Very tricky microphone. You have to.
Can you hear me? Okay. In Mahanidi Swami's Gayatri book, he quotes Prabhupada's godbrother, Sri-Sri-Swami, who commented or had a word for translation of the Gayatri. And he says that Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi is Srimati Radharani in the first line of the Gayatri. So I would just like to say that the opulences of Krishna are fully represented by Srimati Radharani. And the sun, it appears that the sun god is being worshipped in the first line, but actually the sun is a manifestation of Srimati Radharani in this universe, so that Radharani is the source of Krishna's opulences. Does that add anything?
I hope you get your voice back. It sounds like you're...
No, this is it, but
That's it, huh?
yeah.
Okay.
So, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, it's pretty esoteric. Someone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Maharaj, yeah. I was just wanted to say that yesterday we were listening to teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And he was mentioned that not only ordinary humans can't understand the Lord's pollutions and expansions. He said not even Ananta Shesh, he can't understand all the expansions.
Now where was that from? Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yeah, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It was translated, well, there was that narration.
Say it again. He cannot understand incarnations or Vishnu Tattva or what?
All the Lord's incarnations and potency that even Ananta Shesh cannot understand.
Okay. I see some hands over on that side.
Maharaj, about the SB-Canto1-ch3-verse5,
Yep.
does that exist
Yes.
presently? Is anyone aware of that?
Well,
Yes.
I haven't seen one,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, or people,
Right.
somebody else hasn't seen one. So apparently, it exists, and some persons have seen it. Its reference is being made. It's not just being, Peter Pan. or-
Right. I mean, in modern day, someone.
Well, I don't know modern day.
You know,
We have
you have
in our
a
shop.
store.
It's for astrological representative. When somebody has a debilitation of the sun planet, this is the remedy. Nalini-Kanta-Prabhu also has.
And the Shamataka-jo, is that kind of gem? No.
Well, in principle, it gives light. So in principle, because when our Jiva Goswami, when he comments on that verse about Brahma, he gives other names besides the Surya-Kant gem, such as this one and that one. So, as far as I understand, it's the principle, and the principle is being referenced. It's not in the verse, but Jiva Goswami and Bhaktisiddhanta make reference to, such as Surya-Kant, etc. So there is a category. So, in principle, it sounds to me like Shamataka-jo is, in principle, it's the light of the sun. The sun god comes and gives it. And it gives light. It's luminous. And it's not reflected light, it's luminous. Lights up the room in the dark. Non-reflected light. It stores the light. Okay?
Interesting.
Thank you, Maharaj. Who is Govindaraj?
Who is?
Yeah.
He's a Sri Vaishnava Acharya who, I don't know so much about his life, but my understanding is the way in which he wrote, he gave credit to everybody else and simply said, I've collected jewels from here and there and I'm simply compiling it. He took credit for nothing other than putting it in writing. That's his demeanor. But where is he in the line, historically, I don't know. It's probably not too difficult to find out, but I don't know, sitting here. In the line of Ramanujacharya. Over here, 2 hands. Alachua was an interesting place.
Well, Maharaj, I like how you're answering the questions. The impersonal Brahman, does it has powers of its own? I mean, like it could do things, it's called impersonal Brahman. Sometimes I've heard it's called a great spirit.
Sometimes you heard it what?
It's being called a great spirit.
The great
Spirit. Like the
Spirit.
spirit.
The American Indians call it, say, great
I don't know what American Indians, but just from a Vedic context, I kind of drilled down on this question that you're asking, because from that, you can look at it later. 4916, and it speaks, Prabhupada's purport speaks of creative and destructive powers within Brahman. So I got like blown away, because wait a minute, the undifferentiated Brahman has differences. And so there's two explanations, and I've given them both and just can say it again. Undifferentiated Brahman is a partial realization for persons who have a certain disposition towards that which is the source of everything, and they do not detect anything. Thus the undifferentiated Brahman. But that undifferentiated Brahman is an aspect of the absolute truth they're just different aspects, or different perceptions of. So when Brahman is used, as Jiva Goswami says, inferred, so the realization is partial of the inferred Bhagavan, which is, the second part is very similar to Vishwanath's, very simple. Prabhupada has his own way, but it's in his commentary on that verse. Seeing a city from a distant place, and then getting closer and seeing the buildings, and then going there and meeting the people and, checking the whole thing out. So that the Bhagavan feature is personal, and Paramatma feature is not the fullness and all the details of. And Brahman is the same entity from a different perspective, thus an undifferentiated. Last question.
I recall when I was reading in the Krishna book how the palaces were illuminated by jewels.
Yes.
So is this the connection? So we can understand? Because I always wondered that jewels don't look like they're going to illuminate anything.
Well,
genuinely.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the principle is similar, but no, because it's not exactly vibhuti, it's direct. You taking this reference we just read, there's direct and there's indirect. So the Suryakant gem and such, and Brahma, they're vibhutis. But it's not the same, because the vibhuti is not the same as direct. How's that? Yes and no?
I don't understand.
You don't understand? Well, do it again. Do it again. Where does the sun get its light from?
Brahma.
Yeah, Brahmajyoti.
Yes.
So the sun is self-luminous, but its light is derived from the Brahmajyoti. Now the Brahmajyoti is self-luminous, but not the same as the sun is self-luminous. Now you got it.
Is that the direct or indirect?
Say it again.
Is that the direct or indirect?
The Brahmajyoti is direct, and the sun is indirect.
So now with the jewels
They're direct.
are direct.
Yeah.
Oh.
And over here, the sun and the Suryakant, which takes a portion of what the sun has, is indirect. Are we good?
Almost.
Almost.
I get embarrassed.
You'll think about it. Yeah, last point. No more after this.
Wonderful class.
You get the last word always. Come on.
Can you stay here with us, Maharaj?
Can I do what?
Can you stay with us? Just stay here.
No,
Make
I
your
can't.
center here.
I've done it, we'll travel.
Maharaj, I was doing one-time research. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know how many way I can say grateful, because I did not understand when I heard one time Ramanujacharya had 5 gurus. So I collected Kanchipurna, Mahapurna, Maladhars, Soilipurna. I could not figure it out. Where's Soilipurna? How he is a guru? I mean, what did he do? So I collected for some first time, but was not convinced until you mentioned that actually the whole Ramayana secret was taught.
There's some detail. I'm sure you came across it. I'll just remind you what I'm sure you already know, which is Ramanujacharya went all the way to Tirupati to hear from Sri Shailapurna,
Yes.
Ramayana, that he had heard directly from Munacharya. So he went to the bottom of the hill, and Sri Sridharpurna came all the way down by foot. And he was, so he was elder to Ramanujacharya. And he said, well, couldn't you have sent somebody else that was a lesser person? And he said, I couldn't find anybody who was a lesser person, so I came myself.
Thank you.
That's Sri Sridharpurna, and they went up, and he stayed there with Sri Sridharpurna, and he thoroughly heard everything that directly came from Yamunacharya, and thus one of his gurus.
Also, just the last one. I want to just have confirmation from you, so I know I'm okay. I was doing a little chart one time with the Brahman. So 10.14.31, Ahobhagyam Nanda Gopajostinam, Jat Mitrani Paramananda Purna Brahma.
Purna Brahma.
So the Brahma complete only Krishna in Nanda Maharaj's backyard day. So when we talk about Brahma, that actually that is Nanda Maharaj's son, is complete. Purna Brahma, Brahmaji said. So that's one. And then the other one is the Nirvishesh Brahma. The Brahmana hi Pratishtaham.
Yeah.
And that's sloka, the 14.27.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then also he says Mahajjani Mahat Brahma. This material nature is also Brahma.
That's right, there's lots of them. There's more.
And Jiva Brahma.
Yeah, keep going. Brahma can mean different things depending upon the context.
Yes. Thank you.
So because there was this discussion yesterday about Sahasra Shirshan, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and the Krishni Garbha form, I have some printouts. I mean, you can look it up in the Bhagavatam, but here's the printouts.
Can I take it?
Srila Prabhupada ki.
There's nothing more